Welcome to Sinister Heroes. I'm your host, Danny Iniquitous. Thank you for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel about Dungeons and Dragons where we try and take a darker tone with everything we do here. So if you like edgy kind of content, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. A big thank you to our Patreon supporters. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter, the link is in the description, as well as the link to our good friends at Critical Failures, where we're part of a live stream game every Wednesday night. Check us out. Can catch up on all of our previous videos. With that out of the way, we're going to talk about Sea Elves. Elves have this weird thing where they just have to be from every part of the universe. Sea Elves are no exception. They're just elves that love the sea and just gravitated toward living there. They breathe underwater. They build small communities. They raise water genasi. They really kind of took over, and they really have a strong. They really represent the elves very well. They don't deviate too much from what an elf is. Just a couple of little specialized sea things are added to them. They work great in sea campaigns, or like campaigns where you can do a lot of pirating or whatever. Ghost of Saltmarsh is the first one that comes to mind, where you're in the oceans and on the seas, anything like that, and you will have an opportunity to thrive as a sea elf. They look cool because they have naturally that water motif where they almost look all bluish and greenish, where their ears are more fin-like as they get bigger. They just, they have that strong sense, and you get a great opportunity to bring all the cool parts of the elven world into the depths of the ocean. And when you really start to look at what comes out of the ocean, like Tritons are fighting horrid entities, protecting the upper world from them by fighting these, sea demons and elementals and things like that. Water genasi are just wild looking. They look cool. They're different. They're very unique. Lokathan are fish people. Mer people, Nagas, all that stuff have a lot of strong sense of oceanic nature to them. And everything out of the deep is scary. Krakens are scary. They're not to be toyed with. Dragon turtles are scary. Like, there's a lot of crazy stuff that come out of the ocean. A lot of ocean demons. That's where Demigorgon has part. His castle is in like an ocean. There's a lot of stuff in the water that is scary and untrustworthy. So if you want someone that's kind of a little paranoid, a little used to surviving and fighting for their lives, a sea elf is a great way to kind of bring that mentality in. Though I try to keep them close to water, they're elves. They'll do whatever they want. If a sea elf is told to go out into the desert and fix a problem, that's where the sea elf is going. The Sea Elves still have their Fey Elven properties, so that still gives them all the same things all other elves have. They have Fey ancestry, so they have advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the charm condition. They have dark vision. They have trance, and they have keen senses, which gives them the proficiency and the perception skill. When they were first introduced, their ability score increases was 2 dexterity, 1 constitution, which is great. It makes them kind of more of a rogue or a dex fighter or something like that, which is great. Everybody loves those classes. Rangers, they're really good for. But they do gain a couple of abilities from being inherent to the oceans. They get Child of the Sea, so they can breathe air and water, and they have resistance to cold damage. This is from the Monsters of the Multiverse, and it does carry over the breathing and swim speed that's in the water, but there is no resistance when it comes to Mordenkainen's Tune of Foes, so they get kind of a nerf with that. And I feel like all their abilities in there kind of just get, sent out bizarrely. You do also gain Friend of the Sea. Aquatic animals have an extraordinary affinity with your people. You can communicate simple ideas to any beast that has a swimming speed. It can understand your words, though you have no special ability to understand them in return. And in Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, that kind of gets reworded into using gestures and sounds. You can communicate simple ideas with any beast that has an innate swimming speed. So, in the end, and in Mordenkainen's Tomb of Foes, you trade off the resistance to cold with Sea Elf training, which gives you proficiency with the spear, trident, light crossbow, and the net. Now, just a little bit of a rant on the trident. I'm a little mad at this, at the way this weapon is. If you figure the spear as a simple weapon, that's fine. A D6 attack and a D8 if you use it two-handed makes sense because it's a simple weapon. The trident is a martial weapon. That should have been at least a D8 if you're wielding it one-handedly, and a D10 if you're wielding it two-handedly. It makes sense. Just the fact that it's not like that is just, it makes the weapon worthless. If you can use any martial weapons, there's no reason for you to pick that, period. It just there's no reason for it. There are plenty of martial range weapons that do better damage than it. You can use a heavy crossbow with a longbow and you'll do more damage than you would if you threw the trident. It's not worth it. It doesn't add up. There's no reason for it. You can't really gain a good benefit out of it. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a magic weapon out there that maybe it's not coming to mind that does like a D8 or something, or additional damage when you hit. But as a weapon, that should have more profound usage because it was a gladiatorial weapon. They used that in the arenas and the gladiators. They used nets and tridents. They showed that in Spartacus, if you ever saw that. Shields and tridents. The fact that Aquaman uses a trident, like, that should be more than enough to make this thing have a very strong representation dice-wise, damage dice-wise. It's just, and it's inherent to sea combat. Like, it's just one of those things you see constantly within the sea. Lord Triton from The Little Mermaid had a trident. It kind of loses its effect when it's such a small damage die, and that just should be changed. As we're rounding out the last of the elves, it's this and one more elf that we have to cover, and then I think I'm going to do a lore video about the elves because it's been a while since I've done a lore video, and it'd be nice to change up a little bit. But the great thing about what an elf is, it's kind of like a very strong representation of what humans could evolve to. They live forever. They have nice long lives. They're elegant. They're crafty. Everything they do, magic-wise, is like beautiful and uniquely creative. They have such a strong history of being on the right side in D&D, where they're known for being helpful in times of crisis. When one of the lore things about Corellian is if there's a lot of elves being born, it's a bad sign because that means Corellian's flooding the planet with elves to conquer a bad thing that's happening. There's an inherent heroicness to them, and that's a big part of who they are. And that's why they're kind of in every facet. You have your Underdark elves, the Drow, which were turned away from Corellian in service Loth, or the other, the good Drow deity whose name I think it's Elistrahi, or that might be the name for Loth, but I mean, I'll get into it. But there's space elves, there's elves that are in the Shadowfell. If there's a place, there are elves there, and they're doing good usually. About Sea Elves, there's really very little to say outside of that. I think it makes a lot of sense to have cold resistance, so I like the Mordenkainen and Suit of Foes one as far as opposed to the Monsters of the Multiverse version. That being said, there's just not that much left to discuss about them without going into real deep elf lore, which I'm going to cover pretty soon once I finish the next elf video, which is the Astral Elves. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. Definitely hit that like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to the channel when you stay all the way through. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon supporter like our incredible Patreon supporters here already are, check out the link in the description. We love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Check us out at Critical Failures, our good friends over there, where we join in on a live game Wednesday nights, and they're uploaded usually the next day. So if you want to catch up, you really get to catch up quick. With all that said and done, thanks for giving a spooky kid a chance.